When someone says, let's impose tariffs on foreign imports, it looks like they're doing the patriotic thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, but only for a short time. But over the long run, such trade barriers hurt every American worker and consumer.
Well, it is the ad that started a small trade spat with our neighbor to the north. Canada now says that spot will stop running as of this Monday after it was called out by President Trump and the Reagan Foundation for selectively editing President Reagan's words. Well, President Trump was so furious that he actually called off trade negotiations with Canada Friday morning. A few hours later, Ontario's Premier Doug Ford posted that the ad will be pulled so that talks can start again, saying this: "We have achieved our goal, having reached U.S. audiences at the highest levels," but that the ad still ran during last night's World Series game between Toronto and Los Angeles and will run again tonight. On Friday night, President Trump had this to say about that.
They could have pulled it tonight. Could have pulled it Monday. Well, that's dirty playing, but I can play dirtier than they can, you know?
All right, well, welcome in now Michael Charbonne, host of the Charbonne Report, where he looks at American issues through a Canadian lens. Michael, great to see you this morning. So it looks like Doug Ford really doesn't seem to care. This ad completely misrepresented Reagan's view of tariffs. So how is the Canadian media reporting this, or are they reporting it at all?
Well, they're not really reporting too much of it. You got to understand, Canadians are still slightly hurt with the 51st state issue and calling Carney governor. But what it really comes down to is a little bit of TDS, and it's not Trump derangement syndrome. It's Trudeau derangement syndrome, because Trudeau was not the best negotiator. But in politics, with presidents and prime ministers, they change. Canadians always have America's back. This, though, was an excellent example of giving a nudge in negotiations. It took, Reagan's voice from 1987. It was mass distribution, and it talks about tariffs and brings it to the forefront of negotiations again. That was the purpose of what it was to do, and it achieved that purpose, because the tariffs are affecting both of us negatively, and we've got to make this this agreement. Canada and the United States are integrated on so many levels that we have to get a trade deal done. And Tracy, it's just taking too long. So here's a little nudge. Let's use a little media and put it in the World Series, Tracy.
Okay, well, you know, we all know that President Reagan was a fiscal conservative, and this was the message that he put out in his radio address back in 1987 when the president had just put those tariffs on goods from Japan. Let's take a listen.
Imposing such tariffs or trade barriers and restrictions of any kind are steps that I am loath to take. And in a moment, I'll mention the sound economic reasons for this, that over the long run, such trade barriers hurt every American worker and consumer. But the Japanese semiconductors were a special case. We had clear evidence that Japanese companies were engaging in unfair trade practices that violated an agreement between Japan and the United States. When someone says, let's impose tariffs on foreign imports, it looks like they're doing the patriotic thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, but only for a short time.
All right, Michael, you know, listening to the Canadian ad, Reagan is edited to sound like he's against the tariffs. I mean, it's sneaky to me. It seems very deceptive. Is anyone taking responsibility for the ad?
Not at this point, but it's the economic impact that motivated this kind of a tactic. I mean, Stats Canada says that merchandise exports are down 15%. Vehicle exports to the United States are down 33%. There's iron, steel, aluminum, and copper where there's a 50% tariff. We both have to face the fact that both American and Canadian jobs are at stake here. We could always negotiate the editing of video ads and advertisements, but I think the end kind of justifies the means in here. We're back to the negotiation. The ad will be pulled off on Monday, and let's move forward. Let's do a deal. I mean, for goodness sakes, we have so many things in common, and this is such a ridiculous barrier when so many other trade deals have been done. One could say the only two countries who really had retaliatory tariffs was China and Canada. But I really think, Tracy, we got to sit down and talk this out and get it done, as they would say.
Well, let me ask you this, Michael. I mean, how do you think this ad, as you mentioned, it's not going to be pulled, and we mentioned, until Monday. How will this impact the trade talks, do you think?
I mean, I believe President Trump is valid in his worldview, and I think America was taken advantage of. The word carve out is always a bad thing to say, but I do believe the integration of our auto sector, our geopolitics, I mean, we're both Judeo-Christian democracies. There's so many things that are together here. I don't really think that an ad, although it was a $75 million buy, so you got to say he was smart, Doug Ford, in doing that. I don't think it's going to endanger things. I think it's just bringing things back to the boiling point, and hopefully our negotiations can get done on both sides. The deal has to be good for both of us, and it was just taking too long. Nothing's happening. I mean, there was talk that they were going to wait till July of 2026, which is when the U.S.-Mexico Canadian deal would come back up again. But we've got to rectify this sooner than later. It's affecting both of us.
Okay, really quick before I let you go, almost out of time here, but the Blue Jays took Game 1 of the World Series last night. If they end up beating the defending world champ Dodgers, okay, do you think they'll go to the White House, and do you think they'll meet with the president?
I want to see them go to the big, beautiful ballroom. Think of how beautiful that big, beautiful ballroom will be for FIFA, for the Olympics, if they can finish it. And Donald Trump is always a guy who finishes construction. That would be a wonderful thing. That would be a beautiful thing. I think it's a wonderful rivalry between the two of us. Canada hasn't been in the World Series since '92, '93. So we're looking very good here. I'm going to say it's going to go to a 7th game, and hopefully the Blue Jays. But I'm telling you, the Dodgers are a tough team. Don't take the first game as the indication that they're not going to win. This is going to be a real baseball game here for sure, Tracy.
Absolutely, Michael. Thank you so much for weighing in. Appreciate it. Have a great day.